We do, we book our tours now, we call them the old guy tours, because nobody gets sick after 17 or 20 shows. So we do it in parts. But before we had finished the March run, our booking agent Dolores was starting the booking for this second run. So it was already planned prior to coming here in March. I think so for France, but when we get to Germany, for instance, it's going to be Hamburg. When we get to Belgium's Antwerp. So I think it's probably a little bit of both. Sure, Toulouse, Lyon. Where else are we doing? We just did Porto in Portugal, Madrid, Barcelona. So Madrid and Barcelona, big cities too. No, all are separate separate cities, separate. I mean, probably a few close in Germany because that's still the biggest market probably for us, you know. But I mean, the first time through we had done Munich, Frankfurt. Now we're doing Hamburg, Kassel, a few smaller cities. But the German audience has always been a great audience for us. So. It depends on the day, it depends on the business. I mean, it's multifaceted. If I have a wife with me, sure, of course. I mean, because that's what she wants to do. In Porto, I went down to the river, checked some stuff out, did a little bit of sightseeing. Madrid did nothing. Barcelona, went into the city. So, and today was not a day out. So maybe in Lyon, I'll go check out some more stuff tomorrow. Well, I don't think there's really next steps anymore. I think that really what we had on this, and we talked about it via Skype, is that we had just a different chemistry. I think that that's what has, you know, what is portrayed on this record. And that obviously is Jason and how we reacted to Jason by what he brought into the band. We're not the kind of people who are going to say, okay, do it this way. We wanted to see what he had. So I think that, I don't know if it's a step, but I do think that we got different results with pretty much the same formula than add Jason. So what's going to happen next? I couldn't even tell you. I mean, I think the fun part of doing this is that there is a surprise still. And I think that this record's a surprise. I mean, it's full of melody, but it's full of a certain kind of, oh God, kind of a committed brutality that has melody injected into it. So I think that they were the good results we got out of this with Jason. Well, it never hurts. I mean, that's you know, to have a new chemistry, you need fresh blood. You can't have a new chemistry with the same old members. So by having somebody like Jason come in, it just changes everything instantly. We think differently. We play differently. The old songs are a little bit different. Things that we take for granted are no longer there. So it keeps your game sharp. Keeps the whole thinking about. And that it's not just another day, but it's another situation by having a new member. So new blood can be good sometimes. When I first heard the main riff, I knew there was something special about it. And I think that though the band excels at speed, one of our hidden talents is the mid-tempo songs. And the mid-tempo songs are the ones that can be the most gratifying because they're harder to put together and still get the same type of an impact that you would try to get with speed. So when I heard this as being the dynamic on the record, or one of the dynamics or changes, it was obviously exciting. And I think that as it grew, for instance, the introduction, for instance, the chorus being added, and making it simple and not overthinking it. It's probably one of the more simple songs on the record. I think it gave us the opportunity to let's say, re-inject those, you know, the old days of Horroscope or something like that, but with a modern twist to it, with 2019 in mind. and Jason Bittner in mind. So I think that it's one of the standout songs based on its a contrast to what's the norm for us. I see. No, we're doing Distortion, we're doing Last Man Standing, we're doing Welcome to the Garden State. In 2 days we add Believe in the Fight, and Head of a Pin comes in and out. So we're playing 5 songs. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yes. I think we're excited about the record, and also Jason had a lot to do with the writing on this record. So this is something that he gets excited about doing because he's involved in the creation of those songs. So I think it's only right that that it holds that kind of a value, a new record that has that type of an impact. Especially for us. I mean, we love playing the new stuff. The new stuff is it's not the stuff that you just do from muscle memory. You think about it, you get into it. It's fresh. It feels right. The whole band wants to do new stuff. But when it comes to the old ones, there's some classic cuts that are always going to be in there. Hello from the Gutter, Elimination. The other ones, we try to see how the set will work. We always like to go into a departure of changing the guitars to down tune it to D at the center of the set. So the set can go like this and then drop down in the D songs and then come back up again at the end. So it's kind of a plan. And this time around we did, we went back to the WFO record. So we did Under One from WFO and Bastard Nation. And we also threw Necroshine in. So that becomes the center little drop off and then back up into the manic energy afterwards. We hadn't paid attention to it for a long time, so it almost seems as if they're fresh again because we're doing it for this tour. I don't think so. I mean, I kind of like the fact that this is done. This is finished. It was an accomplishment. It wasn't one record, but it was 2 records in one night, and that feels correct to me. To do it again, I think it would never have the same feeling as this. So it's never crossed my mind to say, oh, let's do Taking Over and Years of Decay or something like so. I've never thought of that. And plus, it's different members. Sure, there's different members on these records too, but if you just keep going back, then it's really just a rehash of everything we've done. And I kind of think that those records stand on their own to this day. So. No, we decided. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's ours. Yeah. Well, this was actually. I mean, the whole point of this is that it's the 2 covers pushed together. Mm-hmm. The Feel the Fire, and then this was the original Bat from the Feel the Fire days, and this is the Horoscope's symbol. We just sat down and talked about starting to write in the spring. Maybe late spring, early summer. Just say maybe we should just schedule some time to do it. But there's been no ideas with regard to where it's going to go. I mean, I think the fun is that it's kind of a surprise. We know what it's going to be, but to us each record is very different. I think to a lot of people say, oh, they never change. But to me, it's always, oh, every record feels different. I mean, you could never have found Distortion on WFO, or you could have never found Last Man Standing or Garden State on, the Electric Age. You can't do. It's whatever comes of that era. And I think that that's the fun thing about still making records is that it's a representation of what we are at that time while we're writing it. Not about all this thought that goes into it. It's more about action versus reaction. That's a great riff. Oh, let me hear that vocal line again. So it's real creation, not, okay, here's the plan and here's the map. It's not that. It just happens, and I think that's the most natural way to get best results. I understand. We've always enjoyed production, and that's the right from the beginning. And I think Dee Dee probably more so than myself. he got involved in production on the first record, on Field of Fire, and Carl Kennedy was the producer on that record, but Alex Perialis mixed it. But he started paying attention. I mean, to the point where he eventually opened his own studio and did things. But he also understands having a guy like Terry Date come in and mix a record. I think that's when our sound was actually created, when Terry Date came in. And then from there, we've kind of taken it from that Horroscope into other areas with these guys. The biggest departure to me with regard to mixing is the last record, when Zeus did the last record for us. I mean, I really loved the Andy Sneap record, the Grinding Wheel, but I thought that this was the most brutal production we've had since the beginning. But I think to be involved in all of the project from start to finish, not to just say, okay, do what you want with it, it would make it not Overkill. I think somebody else would say, oh, I can make it like Overkill, but not Overkill. So it has to go through us to be able to, let's say, have the stamp on it that says this is Overkill. Geez, you know, I really enjoyed working with Colin Richardson. He did a couple of records for us back in the 90s, early 2000s. And he was just crazy and became very emotionally attached to the project. So you felt like there was a vested interest that he had in it. Not that he was just somebody hired, but this was now his. And I thought that was a great approach to it. And I remember probably the worst experience was a record that he had done for us. He mixed it, but wasn't involved in the recording of it or any of the production. And the guy who was doing it for us, I mean, it was turning into a disaster. I mean, to the point where tapes were lost, where vocals were not recorded. And so Colin actually came in and saved that project. And that was Bloodletting in 2002. Yeah, it was just a bad experience. You know, it was somebody who was underqualified to engineer the project and made some awful mistakes. So, but we pulled it together. You know, so. We released that Metal Allegiance record by the year's end. It's just a cover record, but it was a lot of fun. It's made in America, the 1970s, so it's got Grand Funk Railroad, it's got Cactus, Mountain, Blue Oyster Cult, ZZ Top, and it's Phil Demmel from Machine Head Violence, Portnoy, Mark Mengy, and myself. So it's a four-piece. We may even get some special guests in there to play lead guitars from the originals, the original guys who wrote them, Leslie West, or maybe Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult said he would do a lead too. So I mean, it's kind of a cool, it was a summer fun project. It wasn't like let's make $1 million. It was like, oh, this will be fun to do. So and we just finished all the recording right before I left.